We're back again. We've got another um incredible episode planned for you today. It's
I'm
the
excited.
amount of preparation that goes into these things is unbelievable. What episode is this? Do you even
I
know?
believe this. Yeah, this is nine, I believe,
Okay.
of Bar Banter.
Yeah. So and we've picked up what, like I think two, three followers along the way. So
Oh,
I
come
mean
on now.
we're
I think we got a couple more.
we're on a roll. Um okay, well, yeah, real quickly. I mean, obviously, we're doing this. I mean, we don't have a lot of followers. I mean, look, I get to jump on here with my son and talk and have a good time. And we tell funny stories. We do little games. We talk about, what foods are best and, what types of bars and, some sports stuff or whatever. But, I thought a lot about this and wasn't really sure if even wanted to broach the subject, but I kind of felt like there's some things that need to be said. Obviously, there was the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk last week, and look, I, I don't have anything to say that hasn't been said. Um, I will say this. Um, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm not MAGA. I'm not woke. I think the problem that we have is we spend way too much time labeling each other, labeling ourselves and labeling each other. When you define yourself as a something, then the people that don't agree with that something then immediately you're lumped in and it almost dehumanizes people. And I think that, you know, I mean, I'm a person. I have certain beliefs, I have certain experiences, I have certain um, you know, things that have developed my beliefs and everybody else does, and people come from all different walks of life and they develop certain beliefs based off of their experiences. And I think that if we take the time to realize somebody thinks differently than me because they have had different experiences in their lives, it goes a long way to then stop saying, well, you're this and I don't like this, so therefore you're dehumanized in that regard. I think that it's sad that people can laugh and justify or even celebrate another human being getting killed, um, and I think that that's because of the dehumanization that we have going on. And I wonder, like, if I have the same beliefs as him and I see, friends and family that are mocking and either justifying or whatever, would they think the same thing if I was killed? I'd like to think not, because I'm more human to them. And I think that if we take the time to stop labeling, stop giving everybody a title, stop, making it this group versus this group and this group, and actually think these are people and they have experiences that might be different than mine, which shape their views. I think that that kind of goes a long way, and I think that it's sad. And I think that we just got to do better. I mean, just start to think about more of people on a human level rather than just a title of what's been labeled to them. Shut the news off, the 24-hour news cycle. I don't care what side you're on or whatever. It's horrible. It's propaganda. It's all meant to incite anger, and that's exactly what it does. That's why we call this bar banter, right? Like the whole point of bar banter, and I've talked about this with my friends and everybody else, and with Jake and stuff like that. And it's when you sit down at a bar, and you strike up a conversation with somebody, you have no preconceived notions of who they are or what they think or what they believe in, and you just have a conversation. I mean, everybody from all walks of life can sit at the same bar and have a conversation and have an enjoyable night because it's human. They're in front of you, you're having conversations. And I think that that's the whole point. And so again, I'm not this brilliant, smart, deep, philosophical person who has all the answers or whatever. I just know that I can have interactions with people that I have disagreements with, and they're great interactions, and it's because of looking at them like a human, and I think that that's ultimately I think that's kind of what Charlie Kirk was trying to do. Unfortunately, that it ended the way that it did. But I don't know. That's just what I've got. Again, you know, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. Everything that you said from that standpoint of it, and then just to wrap this up and get on with our regularly scheduled programming. It just kind of affected me a different way, just because like kind of how you mentioned is what he stood for as far as to young people, right? I mean, he was going to college campuses. He was targeting younger people. The audience he was trying to reach were students, young adults. Um, and aside from the political standpoint of it, he always had the best interest in mind for us young adults and students. Whether it be just advice about career paths, how to carry yourself going forward. Always be courageous, always be ambitious. Never be ashamed to be who you are, in that aspect of it, and just stay true to your morals, and at least for me and for us here at Bar Banter, just to stay true to your faith. Um, and like I said, political beliefs aside, I liked Charlie Kirk because of that motion of it. So it sucks. Anytime somebody, you know, really innocent gets their life taken. I mean, he was a father, he was a husband, he was a son. It it sucks. And I don't care if, he was out there, for either side. Uh this is America, right? We have the First Amendment for a reason. Um and it just sucks. You would think that in 2025 you wouldn't be killed for using and exercising your First Amendment right. But thoughts and prayers to his family and everybody else affected to it. And like you said, Dad, we got to be better. And let's just hope and pray that things like this don't happen anymore, and at
Right.
least slow down.
And I mean you're right, and it comes down to just the faith, and I lean into my faith, and my belief in Jesus, and
Mhm.
that it's hard when bad things happen to be able to say, well, why? Like, how can this happen or whatever? And I truly believe that there's a greater plan. I truly believe that there's a reason for everything. Sometimes that reason makes itself known to us right away, and sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes we may not know it in our lifetime. But it's faith in God, that one that gives me the compassion and the empathy to then look at people and say, okay, if they disagree with me and they do this or whatever and things like that, then there's got to be a reason for it, and there's a person in there that has developed this for whatever reason, and I think that's where we need to get to a little bit more. I will say, one of the quotes that I think is really profound is He said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier want to commit violence against that group. And that's the whole point, right? Like, let's stop labeling, let's stop dehumanizing, let's understand that people have all kinds of different experiences that shape them and develop their views, and we will never understand what it's like to, you know, live in someone else's upbringing. And I think that just having a little bit of understanding and a little bit of grace and just like, like the good Lord, try to live like that and say, listen, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you've done, you're a person, and and that means something. So yeah,
Yeah.
with that being said,
Yep.
let's move on. Let's move
Yeah.
on to something that does a little bit more at least my speed, and
Yeah.
that's silly talk, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, let's look, I'm not an intellectual. I'm not the smartest guy in the room or whatever. So, but anyway, so let's get into some of the fun, silly stuff, and see what we can come up with. But before we get into, just kind of whatever, so week 2 of the NFL season happened.
Yes.
Um, we're of course let's start with our Lions, right?
Yes. Yes.
Start with our Lions. Now, after week 1, we're like, oh boy, what happened? We got 2 new coordinators. We looked awful, low point total. I don't have the stats in front of me or whatever, but one of the lowest point totals that we've had over the last few years. Are we bad? But then, like, we see what Green Bay did to Washington and everything else, and Green Bay could be a problem.
Yeah,
Green
they
Bay
really
could be a
could be.
problem.
They yeah, after that week 1 game, I was like, and of course, Detroit fan, typical, oh, we need Ben Johnson. Oh, look what happens without Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, and Campbell can't do it himself, and fraud alert, fraud alert. And
Right.
then you go look at what Green Bay did to Washington. Um, and then you look at what we did against Ben Johnson. So I think the bigger concern for us as Lions fans is Green Bay scary.
Great. Yeah,
And
I
I, I
mean,
think I
I
think
think
that's what it comes down to. I think that I'm no longer really concerned about us as a team. I think that I just hope we don't see Green Bay in the playoffs.
I think we are going to be who we are. Now, listen, John Morton, look at yesterday against the Bears, like he was having fun, right? Like, I mean, 52
Mhm.
points, the whole deal, all that other kind of stuff. I think, like, we're going to be really good when we're supposed to be
Yeah.
really good, right?
Yep.
I think the issue comes into how are we going to be against the Green Bays and against the Phillies and
Yep.
against those teams that are going to not make it easy for us, right? Like,
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I think that we're going, teams that we should beat, we're going to beat by a
Beat.
lot.
Yes.
I think that teams that, are going to cause us problems, well, it remains to be seen what's John Morton going to do,
Yeah.
as far as that's concerned. Kelvin Shepherd,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. I mean, these guys are just getting in the groove too. I
Correct.
mean, we're week 2.
The thing is
Let's
we're gonna have another big test here, week 3, Baltimore Monday night. So
right.
we had Green Bay, and then we got to have our fun with the Bears at home, and now we got to head to Baltimore for Monday night. So that's two big tests to start the season out. It was rocky against Green Bay, but I think that bounce back against Chicago gives us a little bit more confidence. It made the coaching staff and the players comfortable again, back into a rhythm. I think we walk into Baltimore with a much better game plan than we did against Green Bay, and I think we
And
execute a
I
lot
think one of
better.
the things too is, I mean, like look at like what Baltimore did. They gave up a lot of points to Buffalo, right?
Mhm.
Like, so that
And a
defense
really
isn't
slow start
typical,
against Cleveland too.
right? They're not the typical they're not the typical Baltimore defense. So, can we exploit that a little bit? And then it comes back down to the, like I said again, like Kelvin Shepard, what are we going to do, about Lamar?
Right.
Because Lamar's a problem.
He is a pro.
I mean,
He's
he
good at
just is.
football. He's
Right.
good at
He's
football.
he's got a little bit of talent going on.
Yes. Yes.
As far as the way he sees the game, the way he
Yeah.
reads the defense, his arm, and
And
and then obviously his
he's
legs
just
too.
yeah, he's just an athlete. He's a freak.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets out of sacks that I mean, some of these plays. I mean, I'm even watching even against Buffalo, some of these play. I mean, he should have been sacked for a loss of 12, somehow gains 30 out of it.
Yeah.
He's so quick, he's so agile. And it's like, okay, you can stop him from running. Okay, he'll just throw it 30 yards, 40, 50 yards downfield. He's got Zay Flowers, he's got DeAndre Hopkins. And then you got Derrick Henry if all else fails. It's a scary offense.
Yeah, it's I boy, it's tough. You know, and we didn't look that great against Green Bay. You,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It looked like Green Bay was able to pretty much do what they want to do. Again, our secondary, like I don't know, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, we might have to just outscore them,
Mm.
which that doesn't do much for the stress level and the high blood pressure and all
No,
that kind of
it's not.
stuff. But
No, it does not. No.
I do want to say though, like before we continue on, um, who do you like? Okay, so Jared Goff jumping into the leap zone.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
I-
Yes.
do you think that I would have a better leap into the
Ah,
leap zone than Jared Goff, or I mean,
I think you guys are pretty close.
I mean, I'm a
I
nearly
think the
50-year-old guy that's got,
yeah.
I am a tremendous athlete. Like, I mean, look,
Yeah.
look, tremendous athlete. But when you get to be, nearly 50 years old, like
I think I think the results would be kind of identical. I think it'd be the same situation. I
I
think you
think he
guys would
kind of
end up in the same.
mistimed his jump. Like he kind of tried to
I'm
come in on an angle and like
I'm not quite
mistimed it. Like he
sure.
tried to go forward instead of like what it's like when you're trying to go over a fence, when you're trying to jump the fence and like,
That's
like
yeah.
grab it and you jump, you put the one foot on, you go over. I think he was trying to do that, but didn't get because he was like on an angle instead of
He
going right
was.
at it.
Yeah.
And then he got himself caught. Like he's like, I can't just give up on this, right? Like
Yeah, once you start to commit, at that
you're
point you got to
committed.
go. Yeah,
Right.
I think that yeah, they're just all bad all the way around. Did you like what Amon Ra said on Football
No,
Night
I
in
missed it.
America?
I
He
missed
was
it.
like he was like, yeah, that was bad. He's like, we got to work on that. We got to work on that.
I did see Jared's comments on it. He's like, yeah, that's just not good. It's just
It's
not
just-
good. It just he's like, I was excited about it. I wanted to get into the leap zone and I thought I saw my opportunity and it just was
yeah,
not good. He's like,
no.
I gotta be better. I gotta
Yeah.
be better.
You know what? I have full faith he'll redeem himself on the next one. You start get in the gym, start doing some box jumps, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there. But around the rest of the NFL, um, especially the NFC North, I should say, while we're on the topic of Green Bay and Chicago and all this, Minnesota's bad. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
I
It's almost like you predicted this last
Okay, for
year.
people, so for people that don't know, here's my take on JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is a tremendously athletic quarterback. I think that he extends plays. He's difficult to bring down. He's tremendously athletic. He extends drives by being able to scramble for first downs and things like that. I think in the RPO situation, it causes a problem because you have to come up and you have to extend a lot of, resources to say, okay, if he keeps the ball, we've got to be ready. So I think it causes a lot of problems. I think he's got a decent enough arm I think but he's got arm strength, but I think where his problem is and has been is his accuracy and his timing with the passes. Now, again, we talk about like at the beginning of his career, he wasn't able to win the starting job over Cade McNamara. Then all of a sudden, look, again, it's a fact of what happened, right? Like all of a sudden, you know what the defense is doing and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden, it looks like 70+% completion rating and all this other kind of stuff or whatever. And I'm like, okay, when you're throwing to open receivers and stuff like that, now we're seeing, look, and I'm not saying that he can't develop into it, but I'm saying he's a little bit behind the game because of not having enough years of having to make those things. And the NFL is so much faster than college. Now, am I saying that he's done? No. We know we came out today that he's not playing next week. Whatever, I don't know what the injury is or whatever, but and he already had that first injury, that could be more of a problem than him being able to develop into a NFL quarterback. It could be the injuries more than anything else. But my comment on it was not that he wasn't going to ever be a good quarterback. It was the people that were thinking he was going to be Josh Allen and Lamar and these people like right off the bat. And I was like, he's going to need some time. He's going to need reps and those kinds of things. And we're seeing it now. Like we saw it against Atlanta. He just the timing wasn't there. He couldn't make the right reads. He missed open receivers down the field. Um, and what but essentially he's a rookie quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
it's his second year, but essentially he's a rookie quarterback, and that's kind of what you get, right? But
Yeah.
because of that, they put all their eggs in that basket. It's going to be a rough year. I mean, Carson Wentz is their backup.
Yes,
Carson
he
Wentz
took
fell
it.
off.
Yeah, he fell off, and then you
Yeah.
also, I mean, you mentioned injuries, right? So
Right.
Carson Wentz is another guy who's no stranger to injury. Um, and yeah, and also back to your point about all these people thinking he was going to be MVP and quarterback and Josh Allen. Well, all these people that was Michigan fan, that thought that.
And I will
I
say
think the
other
rest of the
commentators and
world,
other analysts and
who
stuff
Joe
were
Klatt,
really
your
high on him.
guy,
Yeah,
Joel
Joe
Klatt,
Klatt was.
your guy.
Um,
But no, I think like you're right. He's a tremendous athlete, but um, again, it's just it's one of those situations where we talk about all the time. That Michigan team could have won without doing what they had to do, and I think because of that, JJ didn't get the full experience of learning how to read defenses
yeah.
because of that, and like you said, it's showing. Yeah, and it is what it is. I mean, we'll see what goes on for the rest of the year. We'll see how it
Think he's
plays out.
behind a little bit because I think his
Yep.
development was hindered by a year or
Hmm.
two
Yep.
in that. But again, like I've said over and over and over again, I do think that he has all the tools. I think he's got all the skills. I mean, he's athletic. He's got a strong arm.
Yeah.
It's just hey, he needs to
Yeah.
be able
Yeah.
to figure it out, and doing it on the fly right
Hmm.
now like that is a problem. So, and we thought like, oh, okay, JJ, he had the bad first 3 quarters against the Bears, and then in the fourth quarter he brought him back, and everybody's like, okay, this is the JJ, right?
Yeah.
Like this is it. But now we
We
know
see that the
the
Bears are
Bears.
the
I
Bears.
mean, you
Um,
know,
but you also, you mentioned back on the topic of injuries, man, I mean, Joe Burrow. I mean, at what point is it just like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like you talk about somebody who is really good and has proved that he is an elite NFL quarterback. I mean, he's snake bit. He's snake bit, and it really does suck. And you watch. I don't know if you watched Quarterback on Netflix, but I always I will say there was a point in time where I was kind of like, Joe Burrow bugs me. He's annoying, like he bugs. I don't know what it was, but he bothered me a little bit and whatever. And then all these injuries start to happen to him, and then the way he carries himself, talking about them, and then Quarterback on Netflix comes out, and I gotta say, um, just one of the small times that I've been wrong. I'm not wrong very often, but but no, he's a great guy, and I had a lot of respect for him after watching that, and it just it sucks watching him go down again He's going to miss at least 3 months, and it's just like, can you explain like as an organization and as a player, like how do you deal with this type of situation? At what point do you have to move on both sides of it?
I mean, this is the unknown, right? Like, I mean, not only no, no, not only when you're drafting a guy that high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you see what they do. I mean, we see how many times do we have busts in
Yep.
drafts or whatever. I mean, you have the Ryan Leafs and all this other kind of stuff like that, and that's like a mental or talent or whatever type of a thing. When you have the injury bug as being the thing that's holding it back. That's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. And I will say this, like, Joe Burrow, but he was the most sacked and most hit quarterback in the first three years. I mean that they didn't do him any favors with that
Mm-hmm.
offensive line, and he was just getting pummeled. So the fact that he was able to play as much as he has is a credit to him and his grit and all that other kind of stuff. But you're right, like you have to say at what point do we start implementing plan B? Because yes, when he's healthy, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he's rarely healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So we and is he ever going to be able to play an entire 17 game schedule? We don't know. And not only that, but so 17 game schedule, now you want him to play a few more games in the playoffs, right? So when do you start a plan B? Like, I mean, what does Cincinnati do? So I would, do you look at a guy like Kirk Cousins that's sitting there in Atlanta and do you I'm thinking, does Minnesota make that move? Does Cincinnati make that move to try to get a guy like that can give you because I don't think Carson Wentz is the guy. You need a Nick Foles type of a guy,
Yeah.
right? Somebody as Sam Darnold type of a
Mm-hmm.
guy, Kirk Cousins type of a guy as your backup, somebody who has started, who's had success, who's a veteran, and who has the ability to give you 3, 4 starts that doesn't derail your season, right? That's almost what you and the Lions did that with. I mean, that's why we moved on from Hendon Hooker because the development wasn't there.
Yeah.
So you get a guy like Kyle Allen and say, okay, well he's played, he's got some experience and stuff like that. Like if we needed him for a game or two, we can weather that storm. So I think that's where you're at. That's where you're at when you get a quarterback who is injury prone. You
Mm-hmm.
really need to have that backup. And so what do they do? Yeah, it's frustrating because yeah, like I do like the guy. I think he's talented. I think that the game is better when you have your best
Yep.
players healthy and playing, right?
Yeah. What the situation kind of reminds me a bit about. It reminds me of the beginning of Matthew Stafford's career.
And I was
Truly.
going to say that too,
Yeah.
but the problem, so the difference is, so Burrow. What year is Burrow? Burrow's in
God,
his.
man, I don't think you understand. Burrow, I think he's in like his fifth or sixth year already.
Let's. If only we had the
Because,
Googles.
yeah, if only we could look it up online. Well, because think about it, the Super Bowl that he went to was 2021, and that was like his second or third year. I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
because he was the 2020 draft. Oh, he was the 2020 draft, right? Because he was the COVID draft.
Yeah, 2020. So what is fifth year?
Yeah, he's in his fifth year already, and it's like, man, at what point, right? You went to one Super Bowl, you've been missing the playoffs. You're not even in
So
competition
okay,
for,
so it's his fifth year. So, but look, okay, so Matthew Stafford. I mean, his first 3 years were injury prone. I mean, they
yeah,
were they were toss him out
yeah.
because he dealing
But
with injury.
it's another situation though. Like it's the team that he was with. He didn't. They both didn't have a great offensive line to protect them, and it was just two extremely talented players that Stafford dealt with injuries the first 3 years. Burrow's been dealing with them now, and it's like it's one of those situations where they're at both of the teams were asking too much of the guy
Mhm.
without actually helping him. Detroit wanted Stafford to be that guy, but didn't help him. And I think Cincinnati is on the same day. You could have said, okay, some of the similarities, right? Stafford had Calvin Johnson, Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, right? Some of those similarities are in play. Aside from one receiver, they never had an offensive line. They never really had much of a run game, and the defense was in.
Mhm.
That's where the similarities are, they line up.
Here's the other problem too that comes in. It's the type of injury too, right?
Right.
Like a turf toe.
Yeah.
Like that's what ended Billy Sims' career
Yeah.
was turf toe. Now, obviously, we're way more technologically and
Yeah.
medically advanced, to where but it's these little types of injuries that are like a turf toe. Like you can't ever you there how do you rehabilitate your toe?
Right.
You know what I mean? How do you re-strengthen your toe? How do you do, whatever? It was like, Bo Jackson's hip thing. It was like the flukiest little thing. It just popped and it was just
Yeah.
you're never the same. So I don't know. Yeah, it's frustrating because yeah, as a franchise, you're like this is our
That's what
guy,
I'm saying. Yeah, but and
right?
that's what I'm saying. At what point do you start looking onward? Because it's like, granted, with Stafford, whatever, we gave him as much time as we could until it was just like, you know what, we got a completely clean house. At what point did the Bengals give Burrow as much time as possible before they got to do what the Lions did and completely clean house? I mean, is it going to be another 5 years for Burrow, or is it going to be within the next two? Does Burrow benefit from being elsewhere? Do both? Is it one of those situations where, like Stafford and the Lions, it benefited for both parties to separate? It benefited the Lions in the long run, and Stafford went and got his Super Bowl. So is
So
it going to
this
be,
is I mean, this is
you
the thing.
know,
Like, yeah, that's the question, right? Like, I mean, so okay, so this is actually his sixth year, and this is his third injury in 6 years.
yeah.
The leg, the wrist, and now the toe. Um, and but here's the thing, like, I mean, the years that he's healthy and played the full season, I mean, so 2021, 4,611 passing yards.
Mm.
2022, 4,475. 34 and 35 touchdowns respectively. 2024, 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns respectively. I mean, when he's healthy,
But there
but
you
then
go.
you look at
When
the 2023 injury season,
and
2,300 yards, 15 touchdowns. You look at his rookie year, 2,600 yards, 13 touchdowns.
and that's the key. That's the key right there. You just said when he's healthy.
Right.
If you have to say that, well, when he's healthy, he's good. There is an issue there. And again, is it going to be one of those situations where does Cincinnati do what the Lions did and clean house and get rid of everybody? And Burrow goes somewhere, and it would probably be somewhere annoying, just the way it would end up working out. But that's just how it works. Like, he'll yeah, like, but he'd probably go to like the Packers or something stupid. But
Well, the Packers, I mean, what I'll tell you what, that they're they're ever since the Don Makowski, the Magic Man, they've had magic at quarterback, right?
mhm.
You go Brett Favre, you go Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love is playing well.
It'd be
It's
one of those teams. It'd be one of those teams that's like right there, like how the Rams with golf were right there. All they needed was Stafford. Like, it'd be like, what team comes to your mind that you're like they're right there?
see the teams right now though. So here's the problem. So like you look at the Rams and they were like right there because they had Goff who was playing well, but Goff wasn't like, and I still think this. I love Jared Goff and everything else, but Jared Goff is to me, he's Joe Flacco. Um oh the I'm drawing a blank on
Trent
on the
Dilfer.
guy's name from Tampa Bay that won the Brad Johnson.
Oh,
He's that type of a quarterback, right? Like he can win you a Super Bowl if he's in the perfect situation, right? Whereas now you look at the teams that have been close, and you look at their quarterback. So who comes to mind? Buffalo, right? Like you're like you got Josh Allen, right? Like you're not subbing out Josh Allen for Joe Burrow. You Baltimore,
Yeah.
you got Lamar. You're not subbing out Lamar for Joe Burrow. So is there a team that's like maybe San Francisco, but they're like
Yeah.
really
I
good,
think
but they're bad?
I genuinely think, yeah, San Francisco comes to mind, and I hate to say it, but the Chargers.
I don't. Well, I mean, Herbert. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. It could be. Um, but but her. I mean, well, I mean, do you make that jump? I mean, but again, like I said, again,
Yeah.
healthy
Healthy.
Joe
Yeah.
Burrow. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah. Let's. So I do want to say, like, that I was appreciating seeing some of the you know the TikToks out there that had Brad Cooper from um The Hangover as the sound with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn and like boy, it's so both of them have started 0-2. Um it's I don't know. Hey, look, they're both in tough situations, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is.
Brad Johnson more so than Aaron Glenn. I
Ben
think that
Johnson.
The Jets are a better team than the Bears, but it's tough and it's tough going. I mean, and Aaron Glenn's been a head coach in the league before, though.
Has he?
So I think so. Let's
Was it an interim deal? Yeah, I didn't think so.
So he's assistant defensive backs coach for the Cleveland Browns. He was a defensive backs coach for the Saints, coordinator for the Lions, and then now it's a head coach. So that's been his I had thought that he was a head coach at one point, but I guess not. So, but yeah, it's a different
Yeah,
world. And
it
and
is.
that's
It is a different
that's
world.
like when you're focused on one thing, like we talk about like Matt Patricia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a great defensive
Yeah.
coordinator. He's a terrible head coach because
Terrible.
he can focus on one thing, that's it. But when he's got to manage like everything together, he just can't do it. So, you know,
It's tough.
it is. I mean, and then Dan Campbell, you got a guy who's just built for being the head coach. He's built
Yeah.
for being the leader. He's built for being you know, let's
Yeah.
let's bring everybody together and those kinds of things. I think that yeah, it's unique how certain people fall into those different types of categories and stuff like that. But yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with the Lions moving forward, um, and how the coordinators develop. And are we on our way, or was
Yeah.
that like an
Was that our
anomaly because
window?
it was the Bears?
Yeah, and then you talk about windows. So we'll see what we can do
Yeah.
here. But so we have a fun little game that we want to play here. Um, Dad, you want to go ahead and explain and break down this little, is it a challenge
Well,
or
it's
is
not
it?
really a challenge, I guess. Oh, so here's this. So you're going shopping, right? And you're trying to, basically, all right, here's what it is. I'm giving you $10 for a night out. Okay, you got ten
Mhm.
dollars to spend. I'm going to give you a group of five. There's four groups of five that I got, and each item in that group, you have to pick one, and each one comes with a dollar amount, and then you have $10 to spend and whatever. I mean, we've all
I don't
seen
know.
this
Yeah.
before, this
Yeah.
whatever. So $10 for a night out. All right. So I want to give you so the first set, so for $5, you can go to a cocktail bar.
Hmm.
Like like a speakeasy type cocktail bar, upscale,
Yep.
going on whatever. For $4 you can go to a club. You be club and get your dance on, stuff like that. Three, you go to a sports bar.
Yep. Your Buffalo Wild
Two,
Wings,
yeah,
Applebee's, Chili's.
right. Something like that. Two, you go to a dive bar. and for $1, you're sitting on a patio somewhere having some
Yeah.
drinks. So what are you spending to create your setting of where you're going to be for the night? What your cocktail bar, your club, your sports bar, your dive bar, your patio?
I'm gonna go dive bar. So
Okay.
that's $2. So I got $8 left.
You got $8 left. Um, okay. Now we have to pick the type of entertainment that we got. So for $5, you get a live band at the dive bar, whatever it be,
Yep.
whatever type of music that you want to have. It's a good band, live band. Um, number for $4, you have the audio for a sporting event on, and you're watching the game, and that kind of a thing. For $3, you could do some karaoke's. Do some karaoke's. $2, you get to run the jukebox, and then $1, it's trivia night at the bar, and you're playing trivia.
So live music can sometimes be annoying because of how loud it can get. Whether they're good or not or whatever, it can be a lot. Trivia to me is kind of annoying. If you're not playing it, if you're playing and you're fully immersed into it, sure. But like if you're just there just to hang out, trivia can get annoying. Now, here's where I wrestle with the two that I'm trying to figure out which one I want more, to run the jukebox. Now, for those of you who don't know, our good friend Tommy Dukes is notorious for taking over the jukebox at any bar we go to. I mean, he liked to put like $100 into that thing and play music for the whole night. He'll leave the bar and he'll have like 20 songs still queued up, like it, and it's always a good time too because if you do it right, you can cater to the vibe and you can switch the vibe up as the night goes on. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds there. But some about the echo of a football game in a bar. It just it's tough. What's the price difference? Two and three?
No, four and
Four
two.
and four and
So the
two?
sporting event is $4. I mean, think like I do really enjoy the like you like a fight or
Yep.
something like you there, and everybody's into it. Everybody's kind of the whole thing, like
Yeah.
that it kind of brings everybody together, right? The jukebox can kind of almost just be background noise, but it can also be like if you get, I mean, if you're playing like Sweet Caroline, then you get
Yeah.
people who like everybody's singing along and
Singing
stuff like that
along.
could be kind of fun too. But yeah, you got $4, $2 there. You got $8 left. You got two more categories. So do you want to leave yourself $4
Yeah.
for two categories?
Yeah. So you know what? Because of that, yeah, let's go with the jukebox there.
All right, we're
Because I
going
don't know what you're gonna
jukebox.
throw at me with the last two.
So you got $6 left.
Mm-hmm.
So the next category is what are you drinking?
Okay. Yep.
So
I
you got your
figured.
atmosphere, the place, the location, you got your activity, and then now you've got what are we drinking? So for $5, you're going top shelf liquor, you're drinking old fashions, you're having cocktails,
Mm-hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. For $4, you're drinking craft beers. Um, for $3, you're drinking, import beers, bottled beers, those kinds of things. For $2, you're drinking seltzers, and then for $1, you got cans of like Natty or Bush or whatever along those lines.
Okay, so this is actually kind of easy. I'm gonna go seltzers.
Okay.
Here at Bar Banter, we love our high noons, we love our happy dads, we love our well, good boy's not really seltzer, but yeah. So
It
I'm gonna
would
go with
fall
that.
into that
It would fall
category,
into
I
that
would say.
category, yeah. So I
Okay.
got dive bar, jukebox, seltzers. So that leaves me with how much?
So you went $2, $2, $2. You spent $6. You got $4 left. And I think
Yep.
it's kind of funny because I think you almost did this perfectly. Um, but which is kind of funny. But okay, so the last group is what type of food are we eating while we're there?
Okay.
So for $5, are we having like a steak dinner? For $4, are we having wings? For $3, are we having burgers? For $2, pizza, and for $1, you get like pretzels laid out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, obviously the wings. This is
Yeah.
the perfect night out.
So you did. So
I,
your night out, so you're at a dive bar, you're messing with the jukebox,
yep.
you're drinking your seltzers and you're crushing some wings and you're having a great night.
That is quite literally my ideal night out.
That's a good night.
That is quite literally the definition of what my night out. I love that. That's yeah, you know what? That's I'm very pleased. That might be the best blind rank slash challenge that we've done.
I feel like you put together unknowingly put together a pretty good night out. I mean,
I,
that's
that's
what you
my
want
that
out of
yeah,
a bar night, right?
that's my ideal night out. That's yeah. Ah, perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Well, good. Hey,
Well, so
uh,
let me ask you real quick then. So then what would you done the exact same thing or what would you have done differently?
no, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. I would have kind of had a little bit of a problem here because so what I would have had to have done is so I would have gone sports bar. Um, the hard part is like if you go sports bar, then you want the sporting event. So then that puts me at $7 right off the rip. Now I've got
Okay.
$3 left. So what I would probably end up having to do is do the cans of Natty or Bush, and then I would have the $2. So then I would end up with pizza,
Which isn't bad.
which I'm at a sports bar and watching a sporting event. I'm drinking cans of Natty and Bush, and I'm eating pizza. That's not a bad night either.
That's not a bad night
That's
either. No. Yeah, that's a great night also. So yeah, I think those are two really solid nights out. In the comments, let us know who sounded better and what you would have done. But but yeah, no, it's good. That's good. All right, so I
okay.
want to ask you something. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I keep veering off to the side here. I've got Monday Night Raw on the side here. I'm watching the wrestling. I got my Jey Uso shirt on. Now, have you seen the changes that have been made? So WWE and UFC are now signed under TKO. They're partnered, right? Now with that, the WWE used to have all of their pay-per-views, they now call them premium live events, um, on Peacock. And now the reason that they were called premium live events is because you weren't really paying, it wasn't really a pay-per-view. If you had the subscription, then you could watch it. And then they moved Monday Night Raw to Netflix. So by that logic, Monday Night Raw would technically be a premium live event. So it's dumb, whatever. But point of the story is a lot of people have Peacock, Netflix, whatever, and it wasn't an upcharge to watch WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, things like that. Well, the WWE just partnered with ESPN to now show all these premium live events on ESPN. Now you're thinking, oh, well, big deal. You got ESPN Plus, then you can just switch over to there. No, if you have ESPN Plus, you have to still pay an additional charge. I believe it's like $30. So it's not quite like the UFC ones that were like in the hundreds, but it's $30 additional with the ESPN Plus subscription to be able to watch your premium live events such as WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, things like that. The first one is WrestlePalooza this weekend in Indy. Now that's the WWE side of it. So now you're thinking, well, the UFC. So now the UFC's deal with ESPN has ended. So the UFC is actually moving over to Paramount. So any UFC card, any UFC pay per view, now you have to buy on Paramount Plus with a subscription, which I'm imagining, I don't know the price difference yet, but they kind of just they swap. So now ESPN has WWE and not UFC for those big events like that. Um, these are just two recent examples, but you talk about like the world of streaming now. Is it ruining or is it making sports better?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think about it like this, right? Like again, I'm the old guy, right? Like and you didn't have to grow up in the era that I did where it was like we had broadcast TV,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you had, and that's kind of like how I started becoming a Notre Dame fan, right? Because Notre Dame was always on TV. they had that NBC thing, and they were always on. I was a Cubs fan growing up, not to, just because of, being in Chicago a lot and all that kind of stuff, but because the Cubs were always on TV. Um, they had that WGN deal and everything else. The Tigers games, you couldn't watch Tiger home games unless you had Pass Sports Network, which was a cable add-on type of a thing. Even when you got basic cable, you couldn't have, you had to pay extra for the pass. And so, you saw road games for the Tigers, but if you wanted to see a home game, you had to go to the home game.
Mm.
And then you had Monday Night Football. And that was when Monday Night Football was the big thing because, hey, I only got to watch one football game this weekend. Now I get to see, on Monday night. But now, we're talking about, like, we've got two Monday Night Football games tonight. And we've already seen 15 football games this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Not to mention college games where, I set up the two TVs in the basement, and then I got one on the four screen, so I'm watching five games at one time, and that kind of a thing. Um, so so yeah, so it's made it to where you don't miss anything, right? But also at the same time, it's frustrating because we've talked about this. I mean, you got to have I've got every single subscription that there is to have. I've got the MLB app. I've got, Hulu. I've got, Paramount Plus. I've got, the Amazon Prime. I've got the Netflix. I've got, Peacock. I've got, what else? I mean,
HBO,
HBO
yeah.
Max, and so it's, yeah, and you think about it, and then you got to have your regular internet. You got to, and then but here's the other part of it that irritates me about it, right? Like, I can't have any of those and watch live TV on those unless I have an underlying subscription, TV subscription. So you got to have the YouTube TV or whatever else it is as an underlying subscription before you can watch the live events on these other ones. That's the part that irritates the hell out of me about it, because in all reality, if I could just subscribe to these apps and
Mhm.
wipe out that $80 a month YouTube TV, it wouldn't be as bad, right? Because I could just have these apps and watch what I want to watch
Yep.
based off of that. But now I got to have that underlying and then get the apps on top of it, which, at, I don't know what is, some of them are $30, some of them are
Yeah.
are $5, some of them are what, $9, whatever. But it all adds up, right? Like, you're spending over $200 a month to be able to watch all this stuff. Um, but yeah, you can see whatever you want to see. You can watch whatever game you want to watch, but it's expensive and it's crazy. I think that, so it's good that we can stream all this stuff.
Mhm.
I would like for it to be structured a little bit better to where, like I said, the big thing for me is having to have that underlying YouTube subscription or whatever direct TV or whatever subscription
Right.
that replaces your cable. If you don't have to, because in all reality, I wouldn't, with all these other apps, I wouldn't need that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't need, yeah. I mean, even like all the other ones, like you can watch, it used to be, well, you have to have that so you can watch your CBS, ABC, and NBC, the local, whatever, and all that stuff, and that's where the games are. But now they're simultaneously played in the apps and on those. So you don't, so if I didn't have to have the underlying subscription, it wouldn't be as bad. I wouldn't be as frustrated about it. But it is, I mean, the fact that everything's all over the place, it's like forcing you to buy six, seven, eight subscriptions. It's kind of a
Right.
pain in the ass, but um, I don't necessarily mind it so much because I can see whatever I want to see whenever I want to see it. And the other part too is on some of them, like with the MLB one, I really like because I don't have to watch the game live. Like, if
Yeah.
I can go back and watch it, later or whatever. And then with the ESPN, it used to be ESPN Plus, now it's just regular ESPN on demand. I can go, like, if there's a game I want to watch in its entirety and I was pulled in a bunch of different ways, distracted or whatever, I can go back and watch it later. With whatever sport and all that other kind of stuff. So that part, to me, it's worth it. That's cool. But again, I feel like having to have that underlying subscription is kind of the part it doesn't need to be that way. Just let
And
me just let me pay for the app and have the access to the app.
yeah. I think it's more frustrating for WWE fans specifically in this scenario because you went from having, Monday Night Raw was on the USA Network for many years. And then you had SmackDown that bounced around. There was Sci-Fi it was on, and then it was on Fox, and then it was on USA, and then it was on with Spike TV was a thing. But moral of the story was if you had cable, which almost everybody did, and yeah, I'm not gonna say anymore, but at one point almost everybody had cable. Raw and SmackDown you could watch. It was free essentially, you know. Um, and now the only thing that you can watch that's essentially free is SmackDown. So you moved Monday Night Raw to Netflix, which you need a subscription for. So okay, so now what is Monday Night Raw now a premium live event? And then now all of your premium live events, which were formerly known as pay-per-views, were on Peacock, which was actually in some cases cheaper than a Netflix subscription.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
think that I
absolutely.
think I think that the WWE realized that they got to a point where Monday Night Raw was their most expensive show to watch, which that decreases their pay-per-views. I think which is why they made this. I think moving Monday Night Raw to Netflix was a bad idea. I think they should have moved their premium live events to Netflix.
No, you have to subscribe beyond just having a Netflix subscription allows you to watch it, or do you have to?
Yes.
Okay, so you figure pretty much everybody has
I mean,
either a
true.
subscription or access to a subscription of Netflix, right? Like,
True. But it's just, and yes, okay, sure. If you're looking at it in today's day and age, I'm sure that everybody, like you said, yes, everybody has or has a login. But then that's the thing. Netflix now is the one of the only streaming services that is very strict about logging, username and login shares. They're now making you pay extra to share your thing, which I understand if you're Netflix. That I understand.
see,
But
and
like
that's
look
my
look
other
at all these
point
other
too.
ones though. Like
But even
look at all these other
beyond
ones. They don't do that.
but beyond the sharing the login and stuff like that, what they do to kind of tamper that down or whatever is they give you a certain number of streams. Like we run into that with the
Yep.
Amazon Prime stuff, right? Like you get two streams and then you're cut off. Um, so I think that and then the other part of it too is the location aspect of it.
Yeah,
Like
the
so the
location
part that's
sucks.
frustrating for me is living in Northwest Ohio. So as far as the MLB is concerned, like so the MLB and their blackout, like why are what
I know.
in this day and age, like I understand the blackouts before you were trying to get people out to the games and stuff like that or whatever, but now you can't like whatever. Like people are going to go to the game if they want to go to the game. There should be no reason for it. But so so what you have the situation to where it's the MLB has their blackouts for based on location. Then you got all the location stuff and everything else. So like for where I'm at in Northwest Ohio, because of my location, I'm blacked out of the Tigers, I'm blacked out of the Indians, and I'm blacked out of the Reds. So
Yeah.
it's annoying. So when those games are on the MLB app, I can't watch those. So then I had to get the FanDuel subscription for Prime to be able to watch the Tigers. And if I want to watch the Indians and the Reds, then I have to get there's two separate Ohio's for those. So I would
Yeah.
have to get two other FanDuel subscriptions to be able. So that part's annoying. I mean, I can watch them on the MLB app 2 hours after the game's over or whatever if I want to do that or and that kind
But
of stuff. But I think the location stuff is well, and then your girl, Stephanie McMahon got into trouble because she came out and she said, "Hey, start using the VPNs." She was
and
telling people
it's yeah, it's
instead of having to pay,
yeah.
use VPNs and stuff like that, and they were like, "Whoa, hold on!" Like ESPN was like, "No, you
Yeah,
can't
I
say
don't
that.
know. Yeah, I don't
You're like to kill us with it."
she took a lot of time off from TV and all that and I think when she came back I think she forgot how this works, but yeah,
Yeah,
no, I just
especially
I
with all the changes going on in the
yeah.
WWE and stuff like that. I think,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, she didn't say what anybody else wasn't thinking
Well, of course.
already. I mean, it's just that you don't want your high up executive, or you don't want the daughter of the face of it, or whatever, the
Mhm.
uh you know
Well,
um
now, I mean, technically, because Vince doesn't work with the WWE, and he's retired now, but
right, forcibly retired,
she's forced to retire, but now Triple H runs it.
right.
And
So
she's married to Triple H, so she's still involved no matter what. And
right.
in fact, she's got the deal with ESPN now, where she does her podcast on ESPN, and she has a
Yeah,
podcast on ESPN
Stephanie's
now. So
Places or
yeah,
whatever it is, and she does that
yeah.
kind of stuff too.
So yeah, you can't say that. But again, you're right. It's not like she said something that everybody else wasn't already thinking. In all reality, you're actually almost better off just paying a subscription for a VPN, one subscription for one VPN, and then you can access everything rather than having 17 different subscriptions. I
Yeah,
don't, it's, it is.
and I don't know. Look,
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have enough time or energy or whatever, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's frustrating. It's hard to it's hard to manage, and it's hard to stay on top of it all. I mean, look, we talk about this all the time with your grandpa. And
Yeah.
I always think about it, like, too, like when you think about, like, he's 78 years old, right? Like,
Yeah. And that's the thing.
and to the technology transition that he's had to deal with in his life. And so it's like he calls me, he's like, hey, I can't figure out how to do this, and I'm like, I get frustrated. But then I'm I
Yeah.
mean, we went from like having no he went from having no TV
Yeah. To now.
to now this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all that kind of stuff. And then we deal with you with the location services and stuff.
Yeah.
That part's frustrating or whatever. I
It
mean,
is
look,
because we dealt with Florida, the location stuff when I was in Florida. And now, even though I'm only 200 miles away from you, it's still like it's
it's
funky now.
almost it's almost more difficult.
Yeah, some channels work and some don't.
Right.
Like I can get NBC and CBS and Fox, but for some reason I can't get ABC like at all without the location verifying thing or whatever.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but and it's like I mean, there's no shortage of money being spent and paid to these companies. I mean, it's like, what are we doing here?
Right.
The other part of it too is you have those arguments all the time, and those disagreements and the negotiations that fall through. Like we talked about, like YouTube to TV, like they dropped the Fox, whatever, it
Oh
was
yeah,
Fox Sports, but
sports.
then it was FanDuel or whatever. And
Yeah.
then you had they dropped ESPN channels for a
Yeah.
little while and had to renegotiate that. And then there was
Yeah.
something else just recently that they had a subscription, Fox.
Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, was in the almost right before the Ohio State Texas game. It's like, what
Could
are
you
we doing?
imagine?
You got a
Well,
number one, number
no,
three in
wasn't there
season.
what game was it this happened last year or 2 years ago, I think. There was a game that like literally was about to go live and they couldn't get a deal done. And what channel was it? There was a
It was
channel.
ESPN.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, and they couldn't, and so it was like what it was like Direct TV, or no, not Direct TV. It was it YouTube TV?
Yeah, I forget which one it was, because we
There
had
was a
both. We
yeah,
went back
yeah,
and forth, and I think it was DirecTV, and that's
yeah.
why I was like, I'm done with it, because DirecTV was kind of a pain. That don't, whatever. But yeah,
But yeah.
not a ad, obviously. But I think that's good for the WWE. Although they caught a lot of flack about having their WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, though.
And okay, so yeah, so
The live
that's
stream when they were making the
mhm,
announcement. Do you see
yeah,
that?
I did, and thank you for bringing that up, because I feel like we've gotten to a point, and this was brought to my attention by Santi Zap. He's on Twitch and YouTube or whatever. He mentioned this first, and so I'm just going to mention it here. But it seems as if we are getting to a point now that WWE WrestleMania is about to be exclusive to Saudi Arabia and Las Vegas, that they're going to alternate. Because at this point, who can outbid Saudi Arabia and Las Vegas? Maybe New York, maybe LA. Like, forget, they're never coming back to Detroit for WrestleMania. Maybe a Monday Night Raw, cool. They can't go back to Chicago. They're not going to go. They had WrestleMania. New Orleans tried and they got outbid. Like, so now you're getting to a point where us as fans, we're getting to a point where we're about to see WWE WrestleMania is going to go back and forth from Saudi Arabia to Las Vegas. And that sucks because WrestleMania used to be, you would travel it was somewhere new every year. But for the last 10 years, it's really been kind of exclusive to the same cities and stadiums. They went to New Orleans 3 times in 10 years. They went to New York twice. They're doing Vegas back-to-back years in a row. So and now they're doing it after that. They're doing it in Saudi. The problem is the Saudi crowd, they're not a great crowd. Like, they're
Yeah,
really
I don't
not
know.
that.
I haven't
They're not
seen
a
any
great
event that's
crowd.
happened
Like
there,
it,
but
they don't pop for things they should pop for. They don't cheer for things they should cheer for. It's live entertainment. The WWE, you feed off of the atmosphere of the crowd. They don't. It's tough when they don't pop for things they should pop for, which then makes it look not as cool on TV. You
and I
know,
could be wrong too, but aren't there also restrictions on like the women's wrestling
correct.
there
So
too? Like,
they have to be from the neck down completely covered. The only
right.
thing they can have out is their face and their hands. So, and then you see, so then now, so now what? Like, you got to get the women out there, can't show anything but their face or their hands. Saudi Arabia is not like cold. Granted, this will be in April, but still, like,
Yeah.
it's dumb to me, and it's almost like what UFC has done. UFC is, think about it. UFC, I mean, Vegas, Saudi, Vegas, Saudi, Vegas, Saudi. Every now and again, you get you know, your New Yorks and your LAs and maybe Chicago's, but that it just eliminates so many places because nobody's going to outbid those two
Right.
for a stage that big. So and then now you're switching over to this ESPN deal and all this other kind of stuff. So I don't know. It At first, when WWE got rid of Vince McMahon and let Triple H take over, at first it was great. The product was so much better. It was more entertaining to watch again.
Because he was more invested in the actual
Yes,
product than he
yes,
was the business side of it, whereas
yes,
Vince was like, listen, I just want to
yeah,
make as much money as I can. And then
yes,
Triple H was like, hey, listen, I'm not too far removed from actually being a part of the product and I
right,
want a good product.
right.
Um, but
But as time goes on now, they're kind of starting to slip back into that. The advertisements all over the ring now. You've got 7 different logos in the middle of the ring. The tables got logos on them. The ladders got logos on them. Right.
it's like watching an Adam Sandler movie now.
It's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, like you've got like your NASCAR. I'm not. I'm I To be honest with you, I'm not so sure that down the line the championship belts are going to have advertisements and the gear, they're going to have to start having gear on them now.
I mean, we're seeing it with all the uniforms and stuff like that that are happening. And like, it's only a matter of time before the NFL starts doing that. They where you get you start selling the ad space on the uniforms and stuff like that. I mean, hey, it's the nature of, you know, business and money makes the world go around and
See, and
all that
that's
other
the other
kind of stuff.
question.
But
That's the other thing about it, though. You talk about all these different subscriptions you got to have now, and how you watch football games. Your 6 different games are going to be on 6 different channels, which requires 6 different subscriptions. I mean, I, you're right. Money makes the world go round, but at what point is it just like it's greed? It's literally at this point, it's greed.
yeah, I mean, if you and you can't stem that tide. But the other part of it too is like we talk about like all the time where the different direct TV and YouTube and stuff like that, and they have like the four square view that
Yeah.
you can do and stuff like that. Well, what happens when all of these games are on a different streaming service? You're going to
It's
lose
from
your ability to
yeah.
do the Foursquare,
Well, and not to
right?
mention these bars are having to figure stuff out because now you've got these Peacock exclusive games, you've got these Netflix exclusive games and fights and all this other kind of stuff. Now bars are trying they now bars have to be subscribed to all these things. So now
Well, the
bars
other
have to
part of
either
it
they have
too
to
is
either do a cover or they have to raise the price of their products, their drinks and stuff because now they're going to have to pay for 17 subscriptions to show games.
so the other part of it too is like some of that stuff like with Netflix or whatever, I don't even know if you're allowed to broadcast Netflix in a bar. I don't
Some
know.
bars have done it. Some bars have done
Some
it.
bars have done it. Okay.
Some bars have
But
done it. I'm not
but
quite
you're
sure
right.
how. I'm not sure if there's a separate
Kind of kind
price,
of
like a separate package that you could. It's like a business owner package subscription or something.
yeah.
I'm not sure. I know some bars have been able to show some of the boxing fights and some of the like the NFL games that have been on Netflix. Um, but it's again like when I was working at one of the bars in Orlando when they first started doing the Peacock exclusive NFL
Oh yeah,
games,
you
we couldn't
were
show it.
using my login to get
I had to
into
use your,
on
but
one.
it was one TV.
Right.
It was the Miami Dolphins playoff game in Orlando, Florida, and we had one TV that could show it. Like that's an issue. Like that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Well, and that's the other part of it too, right? Like so with these the number of streams that you have. So let's say you are a bar, right? And you've got
Yeah.
50 TVs. How many logins and subscriptions do you have to have if you like you say that like the Miami Dolphins playoff game and you're a Miami Dolphins bar
Mm-hmm.
in Florida and you've got 50 TVs or 20 TVs or whatever and you want at least half of them to have the game on because the majority of people that are going to be in there now you don't have the ability to do that because you have to have five different subscriptions and five different logins because
It's
of
ridiculous.
the subscription or the streaming uh thing rules.
It is. It's dumb. It's dumb.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. At some point, all of these type of things are going to be like the Bills Ravens exclusively on Paramount Plus. And it's like
Right.
you like everybody's got to go get a Paramount Plus subscription now, and now the bars got to like it's going to get to a point where that you have to have like local TV is not going to be a thing anymore down the line.
Oh
Like
no,
it's not going to be well this game's on Fox. It's going to be like well no this game's going to be
because it's
exclusive
going to be
to
Fox One.
HBO Max.
It's going to be
Like
Fox One, and ABC is ESPN,
yeah,
and CBS is Paramount, and so
eventually it's going to because right
they're
now you
all
can
going
do
to be
both. Right now you
right.
can do both. The Sunday night football games you can watch with both cable NBC or on Peacock at the same time.
That'll
Like
go away. It'll be strictly Peacock.
yep.
It'll be strictly
Same with
the
CBS and
ESPN
Paramount.
app. Yep, all that
Yep.
stuff. But
So
well,
yeah.
I guess we'll deal with it when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all right,
Well, all
well,
right.
you
Yeah.
got anything else that you want to touch on, or
No, I think I got nothing. Nothing else this week.
I think I'll just take a sip of this good boy iced tea.
Shout out John Daly.
Yep. So, all right, well, coolness. I guess we'll see what happens, and hopefully the Lions can keep things rolling,
Yeah.
and
Big game Monday night.
maybe this is our year. Maybe we'll finally get a Lions Bills Super Bowl, and
I would love it.
we'll all be happy.
Yes. Yes. All will be right again
All
in the
right.
world. All
Yep.
right. We'll
All
catch
right. Well,
y'all
yep. Catch you on the flippity flip,
on the
and
flippity flips.